fucking lived. That's why you're able to stand up here and judge all of us. You're just a fucking bystander. Mom, stop!
All right.
In every chaotic friend group, in every dysfunctional family, there's always one, the quiet one. The one in the corner of the party, watching everything unfold with a look that's somewhere between amusement and sheer terror. They're the designated driver of sanity, the person you call when you've messed up, but whose own life feels like it's happening just off screen. In the glittering, chaotic, and often terrifying world of Euphoria, that person is Lexi Howard. For the longest time, it was easy to write Lexi off. She was just Cassie's sensible sister, Rue's forgotten best friend. She was a background character in a show overflowing with main characters. But what if being the observer wasn't a weakness? What if it was her secret power? This is the story of how Lexi Howard, Euphoria's resident wallflower, weaponized her silence. It's about how she absorbed years of trauma, heartbreak, and absurdity, and then decided to write it all down, directing her own narrative for the very first time. This is an analysis of how the quietest character in the room finally made the most noise. Chapter 1. The Observer, Season 1. All right, let's rewind to Season 1. If you go back and watch, you'll notice that Lexi is, well, she's just there. She isn't defined by her own desires or problems. She's defined by her relationships to other people's problems. Think about it. At the Halloween party, while Rue is having a meltdown and Nate is busy being, Nate, Lexi is just a bystander, dressed as Bob Ross, which honestly is the perfect costume for her. She's an observer, quietly painting a picture of the world around her, a world she isn't really a part of. Her entire friendship with Rue is built on this dynamic. She's the dependable, stable friend who Rue can call for clean urine for a drug test. But when Lexi tries to voice her own worries, she's dismissed. Her role is to support Rue's story, not to have one of her own. Even in her own home, she's living in the shadow of Cassie's never-ending romantic dramas. She's the sensible, quiet girl in the background, while her sister takes up all the emotional oxygen in the room. But here's the crucial part. She's not just zoning out. She's an emotional archivist. She's watching, listening, and filing away every single detail, every fight, every tear, every betrayal. She's a walking, talking library of everyone else's trauma. In Season 1, we see her as passive, but what's really happening is that she's collecting ammunition. The only problem is that she has no idea how or even if she'll ever get to use it. Chapter 2. The Caretaker in a World of Chaos. And that brings us to one of Lexi's most defining and, frankly, most thankless jobs, being the caretaker. In the psychology of dysfunctional families, there's an archetype called the family hero. It's the child who becomes hyper-responsible, the one who tries to hold everything together, often at their own expense. Sound familiar? Let's be real. The Howard household is a beautiful, pastel-colored mess. Her mom, Suze, is a loving but chaotic alcoholic, and Lexi often has to be the adult in the room. But the most telling moment comes from her childhood, when her dad leaves. Cassie has this huge, dramatic, cinematic reaction. It's loud, it's visible, and everyone rushes to comfort her. Lexi, on the other hand, quietly cleans up the mess. Her pain is silent, and because of that, it goes completely unnoticed. This is the moment Lexi learns a fundamental, heartbreaking lesson. Her feelings don't matter as much because they aren't as loud. The loudest person in the room gets the attention, so she learns to swallow her own emotions to make space for everyone else's. She becomes Cassie's emotional punching bag, the constant shoulder to cry on, and she's the same for Rue. Remember that scene where Lexi confronts Rue about her drug use? She musters all her courage to say, "Rue, you really need to get help." And Rue's response is to verbally tear her down, making her feel worthless and naive. This isn't just about being a good sister or friend. It's a pattern of self-negation. She's been conditioned her entire life to believe that her problems are insignificant compared to the whirlpool of insanity around her. She is the stable ground that everyone else stands on, but no one ever stops to ask if that ground is cracking under the pressure. So what happens when the caretaker gets tired of caring? What happens when the silent observer decides she's finally seen enough? Well, she writes a play, and that's where everything changes. Chapter 3. The Turning Point. Finding her motivation. So what happens when the quiet observer finally has enough? What's the final straw that breaks the bystander's back? In Season 2, it's not one thing, it's everything. Lexi spends the first half of the season watching her sister Cassie secretly hook up with Nate Jacobs, her best friend Maddie's abusive ex-boyfriend. She's not just watching drama, she's watching a slow-motion car crash of betrayal, and she's trapped in the passenger seat. She's forced into silence, complicit in a secret that's tearing her world apart. Then comes the intervention. This is arguably one of the most brutal scenes in the entire show. After Lexi and her mom have their hearts ripped out trying to help Rue turns on Lexi with surgical precision. She unleashes all of Lexi's deepest insecurities, telling her that nobody likes her, that she has no identity, and that she's just a passive observer who is fucking boring. It's a devastating moment because for the first time, Lexi's act of caring is met with pure, unadulterated cruelty. Her reward for being the responsible one is being told she's worthless. And right at this low point, something shifts. In a world where everyone talks at Lexi, Fez talks to her. He's the first person who isn't a family member or a childhood friend to actually find her interesting. He calls her smart, he listens to her, he thinks her ideas are cool. When she tells him about her play, he doesn't dismiss it. He encourages it. He tells her she's a genius. For someone who has spent their entire life feeling invisible, being truly seen is a revolutionary act. Fez's validation gives her the one thing she's been missing, permission to believe that her perspective matters. It's the spark that lights the fuse. And what do you do when you finally feel seen? You write. You take everything you've been bottling up, all those observations, all that silent pain, and you put it on stage for the whole world to see.
Look, I know being informed, smart, hardworking, and curious are all very important qualities, but imagine having all of those qualities and also being hot. So if Hallie was 433 days older than me, then all I would have to do is wait 433 days, and I'd look just like her.
Chapter 4. Our Life. Art as a Weapon and a Mirror. Lexi's play, Our Life, is not just a high school production. It is a work of art, a therapeutic breakthrough, and a masterpiece of passive aggression all rolled into one glorious, glitter-dusted exposé. For Lexi, the play is a form of catharsis. It's her chance to finally process the years of trauma and chaos she's witnessed from the sidelines. All the moments she had to quietly absorb, her parents fighting, Cassie's insecurities, Rue's addiction, she can finally give them a narrative. Her narrative. It's her way of finally being loud. But what makes the play so genius is that it's also a meta-commentary on Euphoria itself. Up until this point, the entire show has been filtered through Rue's lens as an unreliable, drug-addicted narrator. But now, Lexi hijacks the story. She becomes the new narrator, and her version is brutally honest, unclouded by addiction. She presents events as she saw them, forcing everyone to confront a reality they've been conveniently ignoring. And let's be clear, this art is also a weapon. I mean, the holding out for a hero number, it's a jaw-dropping, homoerotic, and absolutely savage takedown of Nate Jacobs and toxic masculinity. Lexi didn't just write a scene. She choreographed a character assassination set to a Bonnie Tyler classic. She saw the hypocrisy and fragility behind Nate's tough guy persona and put it on blast in front of the entire school. It's not just telling a story, it's serving revenge. For others, the play acts as a mirror. It forces every single person in that audience to see themselves through someone else's eyes. It's a public performance of their private lives, their flaws, their best moments, and their absolute worst. Lexi, the quiet observer, becomes the ultimate truth teller, holding up a mirror to a group of people who would rather look at anything else. Chapter 5: The Fallout and the Forgiveness. So, the bomb has dropped. Now for the fallout. The reactions to Lexi's play are as varied and as chaotic as the characters themselves. For Cassie, it's a narcissistic implosion. She doesn't see a nuanced portrayal of sisterhood or a commentary on beauty standards. All she sees is a personal attack. Her meltdown, storming the stage and screaming, "I'm the villain," is the perfect climax to her season of desperately seeking validation. She can't stand that for once, the story isn't about her in the way she wants it to be. Nate's reaction is more chilling. He doesn't scream, he doesn't cry, he just gets up and leaves, filled with a cold, terrifying rage. The play has publicly emasculated him, and we know Nate doesn't let things go. For him, this isn't the end of a story, it's the beginning of a war. But then there's Maddie. She's laughing. It's a laugh of pure, unadulterated catharsis. For the first time, she feels completely and totally vindicated. Lexi's play gives her the validation that her so-called best friend never did. It's a moment of triumph, a shared understanding between two girls who have been collateral damage in Nate and Cassie's toxic vortex. And then, most importantly, there is Rue. Watching her own life unfold on stage, seeing her struggles with addiction and grief portrayed with such raw empathy is a revelation for her. She isn't watching a mockery. She's watching a tribute to her friendship with Lexi, a friendship she has systematically destroyed. When she sees Lexi's character on stage forgiving her own, Rue begins to understand the possibility of forgiving herself. This is Lexi's ultimate gift to her. It's not judgment, it's grace. Lexi's play may have been born from a place of frustration, but it ultimately becomes an act of radical empathy. It holds a mirror up to the chaos, and in doing so, provides a strange, unexpected form of sanity. The observer has finally taken center stage, and in doing so, has changed the entire narrative for everyone. She's not just a bystander anymore, she's a force. Conclusion: the observer takes center stage. So, in the end, the quiet girl in the background became the star of the show, not by changing who she was, but by finally embracing it. Lexi Howard's journey is a masterclass in the secret power of the passive observer. She spent years absorbing the chaos, the pain, and the beauty of the world around her, and instead of letting it consume her, she transformed it into art. Let's be honest, her play wasn't just a school project. It was a reckoning. It was the moment the side character grabbed the pen and rewrote the entire script. She took the messy, unreliable narratives of her friends and family and held them up to the light, exposing them for what they were. For Cassie and Nate, it was a harsh, unflattering spotlight. But for Rue and even for Maddie, it was a moment of clarity, a chance to see their own stories from a perspective filled with love, even when it hurt. And that's the sanity in the chaos. Lexi's play gave meaning to the madness. By putting it on stage, she created a framework to understand the trauma, to process the grief, and to find closure where there was none. Her power was never her silence. It was what she did with it. She showed us that you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to have the most powerful voice. The big question now is, where does she go from here? She's no longer just an observer. She's an active player. She has a voice, she has confidence, and she has the love of a surprisingly sweet, face-tattooed drug dealer. But she's also created enemies and exposed truths that can't be taken back. Whatever happens in Season 3, one thing is certain. Lexi Howard proved that if you don't get to be the main character in someone else's story, you just have to write your own. Honestly, Lexi's journey of finding her voice through her art is why I love making these videos. It's all about taking these incredible stories and trying to make sense of them together. Thank you so much for being a part of that process with me today. If you enjoy these kinds of conversations and want to be a part of this community, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe. Your support means the world. Until next time, keep looking for the stories in the frames. And remember, it was not judgment, it was grace. Thanks for watching.